Hi, I'm Movie Man. I'm an octopus who reviews movies, and today's review is going to be on. So, the plot of The Nun 2 is it's set after the events of the first film where Valak, the demon nun from the previous film, is back and is now haunting a boarding school in France. So now, Sister Irene, played once again by Taissa Farmiga, returns to once again try to defeat the demon. Um, Now, I'll be honest, The Nun 2 was never really a film which I had very high hopes for because I only just got to watching the first Nun a few days ago. And I'll just say this, in my opinion, it was pretty bad. Um, and I had seen some of the early reactions for the film, and they had been very mixed, honestly. But the general consensus seemed to be that this film was actually a slight improvement over the first film, but not really by a whole lot. Um, but anyway, so I went to see the film there yesterday, like the day after my birthday, and if you guys want to look at my community post, you'll know that 2 days ago on September 9th for my birthday, I went to see Barbie again. It was actually my third time seeing it. In case you're wondering, there's not going to be a re-review because it's still just 10 out of 10, such a brilliant film. And that was 2 days ago. I only saw The Nun 2 one day ago. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I actually remember going to see Barbie and Mountain Point and saw all that stuff. I remember all of that more than what happened yesterday when I went to see The Nun 2. Because, I mean, oh my goodness, it has only been a day since I saw this movie, and I am already starting to just forget about it. Yeah, this is not really too much of an improvement over the first film, to be honest. I'm sorry, this film is bad as well, and it is just such a forgettable film. This is without a doubt one of the worst horror movies I've seen this year. Heck, I'd actually go as far to say I actually think this film is slightly worse than The Pope's Exorcist. While The Pope's Exorcist was a film that I honestly did not like, at the very least it didn't bore me as much as this film, because oh my god, this film was just it is without a doubt one of the most boring and forgettable films I have seen all year. Now that's not to say that this film is completely bad. I'll admit that I think that I do like the cinematography and the editing in this film. I think they're quite solid, and I'm not gonna lie, I actually do like the dark color palette. Like, I'll give the movie this. I do think it has a really nice dark color palette, and like it's I think the film can do a solid job at building up the atmosphere. So yeah, I think the cinematography, the dark color scheme for everything, in my opinion, it's actually I liked it. I thought they almost watched about the editing in this film, but I thought the editing in this movie was pretty solid. Um, yeah, so if there's one thing that this film did improve upon over the first movie, it's that it definitely had a much better look to it. I feel I did like the look of the movie. It wasn't. Admittedly, it wasn't. I liked looking at it I liked for how dark it looked. I'll give the movie that. Now, if there's one thing that this film did that was worse than the first film, it's the pace. Now, the first movie, the first movie was obviously really bad as well. The first film was only an hour and 36 minutes, and I'll give the first film that it didn't really feel like a long film. I didn't really feel that the movie overstayed its welcome too much. I think it went about its runtime enough, so at least I didn't have to spend too much time with the film. But in this movie though, now this film is a bit longer than the first movie, as this film is an hour and 50 minutes, so it's just less than it's 14 minutes longer than the first film. And yes, it feels so much longer. The pace in this film is honestly really bad. Like, I'm not joking. There are times where this film it can just go on and on, and I just found it really boring, and eventually got to the point where I was just wondering when the film was gonna end. However, I think in particular it was in the third act of the movie when this really became apparent, because oh my god, the third act of this film, like the climax and everything that goes on, is this movie the climax just seems to go on forever, and I find it so boring. And not to mention, at one point during the climax, there's this one scene where it kinda seems as if the movie is gonna come to an end, but then it just keeps on going, and I was just like, oh, this still isn't over yet. So yeah, the pace in this film was just very bad in my opinion. Then we have the sound and music. The score in this film is fine enough, I suppose. I'll admit, I think the film, yeah, it has a fine enough score, but it's not really one that I'm gonna remember, honestly. Especially considering how forgettable this movie is. So yeah, I thought the score in this film was it was pretty much just eh. Then we have the characters. So, the main protagonist of this film is Sister Irene. And of course, she was also the main protagonist of the previous film. Now, she wasn't a bad protagonist or anything, but she wasn't really a character that I cared too much for, and this film is pretty much the same. She's not really a bad protagonist, but I'll be honest, I just felt the film could have done a much better job with her. And And I'll be honest, I think Taissa Farmiga tries her best with the scripts, but honestly, but the film, but she's just not given much to work with, honestly. So this Irene is just pretty much just the same as in the first film. We also have, returning from the first film, is Maurice. And well, otherwise so was Frenchians. I'll be honest, I didn't like Maurice that much in the first film. I thought he was honestly a pretty annoying character. I'll admit, I'll give the movie this. In this film, he's actually a bit better. Like, he's not an amazing character or anything, but I actually thought this film did a better job with him than the first movie did. Because, like, obviously it shows that since the events of the first film, Valak seems to be following him everywhere and stuff, and I thought the film did an interesting job with him. I'll be honest, his whole part, cause, him and Irene, their plots were just so different. They had two different plots. The plot with Irene and the plot with Maurice. I'm gonna be honest, I felt the movie focused more on Maurice's plot and not enough on Irene's plot. It's not that Maurice is a bad character in the film or anything, but I thought the film could have, honestly, I felt the movie really should have focused on Irene more, but to be fair, I actually did find Maurice more tolerable in this film, so I'll give it that. We also have we have a few new characters in this film. We have another nun who joins Sister Irene, that being Sister Deborah, and she's played by Storm Reid, and I'll admit Storm Reid is definitely a solid actress. Of course, this isn't the first movie this year that I've seen her in. Earlier this year, she was also in Missing, which was a really good film, and I thought she was very good in that movie, but in this film, she is trying, again, she's trying, I'll say that, but honestly, this script just does not give her much to work with. She and Taissa Farmiga, they both try their best, but I just feel like the script doesn't give them much to work with. Not to mention, the film even her character and everything. I just found her character to be quite uninteresting, and I thought they just really did not do a good job with her character. She had sort of an arc in the film, and I did not think the film did a good job with it at all. And again, Storm Reid tried her best, but honestly, she was just really wasted in this film. So yeah, I just didn't like Sister Deborah all that much. We also have, along with Maurice, we have this woman who works at the boarding school, and her daughter, and I'll be honest, I really did not care for the two of them as characters. Honestly, I just some of the other support characters in this movie, I just could not care about them whatsoever. And not to mention the nun herself, Valak. She is hardly now. I'll be honest. An issue I had with the first nun film was that Valak, who was of course the nun herself, she wasn't in the first movie that much, but this film does it even worse, because she really was not in this film that much at all, and she had one or two scenes, but she really wasn't in it that much until the final act. Now, okay, let me say right here, your main monster, it doesn't. I do think it is great. Like, you can definitely make a film, um, where your most threatening character is not in it that much. This has been proven because, for example, Jaws. Of course, the shark doesn't really show up until like the third act of the film. It's only in the third act when the shark appears, right? And another example is in Alien, because in the original Alien movie, the xenomorph, the original xenomorph, actually only had, I think, minutes of screen time, but yeah, the xenomorph in the original Alien film didn't have that much screen time. Even Hannibal Lecter from in the Silence of the Lambs, he was, believe it or not, despite delivering the most iconic performance of the movie, he was actually only in the film for about 16 minutes total. But like, the thing is, with some of these characters like Jaws and the Xenomorph, yes, they actually weren't in the movie for too long, but what made it great was that you felt their presence. They didn't need to be on screen for you to feel threatened by them, because despite them not being there physically, you knew they were there, lurking about in the shadows. And that's what made them so creepy, that's what gave them their edge. But Valak just doesn't do that for me. Like, not like Valak spends most of the film in the shadows, but I just couldn't. I wasn't feeling creeped out at all. I didn't feel threatened, not in the slightest. And honestly, that's one of the biggest issues with this film, is that I did not feel scared at all. Now, to be fair, I was not at all scared by the first movie either, but like, this film tried way too hard to be scary. Like, there were constantly these scenes like building up to jump scares and everything, because we got a lot of them throughout the film. And yeah, this is just yet another one of those films that relies way too heavily on jump scares and stuff to make it creepy and everything, and it doesn't work. Like, whenever one of these jump scares happens, I didn't feel scared, not even once. Yeah, this film just really wasn't scary at all. I was bored, if anything, by this film, which is a shame, because again, it has very nice color palette to it, but it's just not scary in the slightest. I didn't feel scared once. And like not to mention, this film in general even existing, like, what was even the point of making a sequel to The Nun? The first film was bad enough in itself. Why do we even need a sequel? It's just so pointless. And I just didn't really care for really anything that was going on in the film at all. And for the narrative structure, like, of course we have two plots, like one about Irene and Deborah, like, trying to figure out what's going on and everything, and we have the other plot with Maurice at the boarding school. And I'll be honest, I didn't really care much for what was going on in the film. I was more interested in the plot with Deborah and Irene, but the film didn't focus on it enough. It focused way more on Maurice and the girl and her mother at the boarding school, and it was just I just didn't find it interesting in the slightest. But yeah, so overall, The Nun 2 is just a bad horror film. It's honestly one of the worst horror films I've seen this year. Um, it has a nice color palette, and I do think the character of Maurice was a bit better in this film, but like overall, it was just it was pointless. I didn't care if what was going on. I didn't feel scared. Overall, this is just a really boring, forgettable movie, and it's only been a day since I've seen it, and I'm already starting to completely forget that I ever did. So with that, I am going to give The Nun 2 a 3 out of 10. So with that, I'll see you guys next time, and bye.